So it's been about a week and a half since I did any work on this. Gonna get back at it. Got the logs peeled and take it over to the log pile, and gonna have to move them all over here to the Hobbit Hut. So we'll head back over to the log pile. I'll show you what we've got to do to get the logs over here. It's actually quite cold out, even though it's nice and sunny today. So made quite the mess, so if anybody has any suggestions on what to do with the bark, I'm sure there's a way to compost it or do something. Hoping that somebody has had a successful way to deal with this rather than just disposing of it. I believe we got about 14 logs that we peeled up here, so we get these over to the Hobbit Hut. Where I left this was just getting started onto the second circle of the opening in the roof for the reciprocal frame roof. But I think I'm going to remove this log right now, this one here, and put it onto the start of the second opening in the roof, and then work my way back across. Working through the center part is going to be the most challenging, to get all of this to tie together. I'll do my best to get the camera angles right and explain it as I go. But the general concept of how this works is that you have to get your last log underneath the first log, which is this guy. Get that back, and then it has to come up above this last log. And then once you wedge that together and you let it down, all the logs hold each other in place in combination with the fasteners. All right, so I've spent some time just reworking my Charlies or bracing. It's my supports to hold up the two different segments of the reciprocal roof. I had to take into account a couple different things, and it's the most important thing would be putting in the last piece that goes underneath the first one, which is the one that is directly supported by the Charlie. So that one is going to have to come across off of this post, and that little bit of ready rod there, it'll be secured there. But that one has to go underneath the one that's supported. So I had to make sure my bracing was back far enough in order to allow me to get the log in. So everything I've seen on YouTube never really shows you this part. So I'm hoping I can document that well and explain it a little bit better to at least show what you've got to do. The other challenge we have is the overall heights. I've also added just these cross members to the Charlies just to stop them from spreading. The ground here is really icy and frozen, so I did have a couple issues with them slipping out. Thankfully I didn't lose everything. I had some temporary supports put in, but this is gonna stop it from spreading and help distribute the weight between the two pieces. So you'll be able to see here, hopefully, how this is playing. But it's actually going underneath this log. Yeah, I'm at least a foot and a half off. Here's a different angle of it, but it is at least a foot and a half off. Maybe a little bit more. So that log that is supported by the brace, I need to get one underneath it, and then all the way up above this last log here that goes across. So how I need to adjust the slope and lower this top log is I can actually move each log slightly down towards the base, and that drops the slope as a whole. It does weaken the structure a little bit because if you have, the closer you have the logs stacked on top of each other, creates more of a beam. And if you offset them, you can see a little bit here, if it's a little bit more offset, it's putting stress on a different point of the log. Not the end of the world, but you want to have it consistent. And unfortunately, this whole shape is just not consistent. That's the challenge in trying to do math on this. I have different diameter of logs throughout, and I don't have a constant base of a circle either. In order for me to make these adjustments, I'm gonna have to bring the saw up here and just trim these down a little bit. They're gonna hit the tree in a couple spots. So I need a little bit more play and room, and they're definitely longer than what I need to make this work. So we will get up here with the saw, make those adjustments, and then try to drop the slope, and then try to get this last log in here. And if I get that in, should be smooth sailing for the rest of the way. Okay, so we got those trimmed up. You can see down, makes the shape of a circle a little bit better now. So now I can get in here and I can move these logs down towards the base to help drop it, to drop the overall height in order to get this last piece in. There is a website, I'll put a link in the description, for a fellow out of, I believe it's Denmark. He has all the calculations that you should be using in order to build one of these. However, because I don't have the constants, the math would be a nightmare. So I'm proceeding more with just trial and error. I'll show you how I can adjust this here if you want to wing it like I am.
Off the deep end, drowning out my fears with tears instead. I've been searching for a peace of mind.
Okay, so I've got the opening adjusted to try to lower the height. So I'm gonna see if I can get the next log in there, get a better idea. I might be able to pry it in. So, being that I was so focused on this original circle here. And then when I placed my second circle over here, I wasn't paying attention to my leading edge. So the leading edge would be the side of this log, and as I come around, that would create the circle on the inside, the inner circle of the opening, the reciprocal roof. The challenge is I've got a ribbon here, which is where I want to have the center of the circle. It's rather confusing, but I was focused more over on the original circle. And looking at the SketchUp drawing, it doesn't really actually show what you have to do here. Because if I come this way with this one, it's going to put the circle on this side, which is way off where I intend for it to be. So I'm going to have to go backwards again here, take down a few of these logs. I think that's going to be the best bet in order to move forward with this. We'll have at that and see how it goes. Okay, so I've reconfigured this a little bit. Actually quite a bit. I had to go backwards. I've adjusted the location of this so I can actually carry on and go in the same direction that I was with my lead edge. So my center of my circle is to the left of that log. Before I had it to the right, but now that's going to allow me to come my next log off of the top log here, across to up about 4 feet on that one, and then again back off that one onto the top of this one. Looks like that's the way to do it, so I'm gonna get going and put these ones in.
Why is certainty so hard to find? I feel like I've been wasting all my time. Everything I tell myself is a lie. Feel like I'm 6 feet underground. I've got dreams on my gravestone, no flowers to be found. I keep screaming, shouting, this is my battleground. Though I'm trapped inside the mind of a dreamer, my fears can't hold me down. Casket of our heart's deepest feelings, graveyard of forgotten wants and hopes, trapped inside the mind of a dreamer. No one may really ever
This one's big.
feel like I'm 6 feet underground, trapped inside a dream and falling through the clouds. I keep screaming, shouting, but no one hears the sound.
So now that I've got that big guy in, you can see it's sitting at the same height as the very first one. Okay, so I've taken a bunch of the pressure off and lifted a section of it with this strap. I got it rigged up to a tree, and then I've also got another section just over here raised up as well with just a brace coming at it from a couple different angles. But what I can do here now is just lift up these last two logs that are supported by the Charlie and do it with a pry bar, and I'll pry this guy here, where is it? This guy here underneath these two, and then I'll have bearing across this log here.
'Cause I'm trapped inside the mind of a dreamer, dreaming. Sometimes I compromise, sometimes I tell a lie, but it's only to myself. Sometimes I make mistakes, regret choices that I've made. I never cry out for help. Feel like I'm 6 feet underground, trapped inside a dream and falling
All right, so I got everything adjusted on that one. All the support taken out for that section. So right now I only have one Charlie in for this next section. Bringing this all across, there's just a loose log up there which I'm gonna put in next. Because I have this one long log in here. The bearing of it's about 18 feet, and you can see because of the offset, it's not doing the true reciprocal that I want it to. But I do think it's gonna work because I can use this to place a few of the logs from this section over here. Whoa, it's bright. Either way, we're gonna keep going with it, give it a shot, see how it comes together. It does feel nice and stiff up there.